Alright guys, on this video I'm going to explain only the class opener on this part of the notes. And they want us to solve these systems with substitution method. So what we're going to do is step one on substitution, pick an equation and get a variable by itself. As you can see, the top equation already has y by itself. It says y equals 2x. So step one is done for you. You take that variable expression 2x and you plug it into the equation you have not looked at yet, the one you haven't used yet, which is the bottom one. We're going to plug in the 2x right into the y. So our bottom equation is going to read 6x minus, but instead of y I'm going to put parentheses equals 8, and inside those parentheses I'm going to put the value 2x that I'm substituting in. Once again, we're plugging it into the y value because it says y equals. If it would say x equals, you'd be plugging it into the x. So it says y equals, we plug in this 2x right into y because 2x equals y equals 2x. There it is. So after you substitute, you're supposed to simplify the equation, which means distributive property and or combining like terms. So there is no distributive property, but there is combining like terms. You have 6x take away 2x. You could actually do that. 6x take away 2x is 4x. We have 4x equals 8, which means that we could solve that simple one-step equation by dividing by 4, and we'll get x equals 2. So we have half of our answer. We have the x value, we need the y value. Whenever you have an x value and you need the y value, all you have to do is plug it back in. So you could plug it into any equation you want. I'm going to take that 2 and plug it into the top equation right into x because it says x equals 2. So I'm going to have a y equals 2 times, and we're plugging in the 2. So what's y going to equal? Y is going to equal 4. That's my second answer. X equals 2, y equals 4. Of course, on the quiz Friday, let's write it as an ordered pair. Your x value is always first, your y value is always second. Let's move on to the second system here. And again, we're going to do substitution, and we need to pick an equation and get a variable by itself. As you could see, the bottom equation already has y by itself, so they did step one for you. So let's take that negative 2x plus 2 and plug it into the y value of the other equation we have not used. So I'm going to plug it in right into this y value right there. So my new top equation is going to read 3x minus 17 equals 2 times y. But instead of the y, I put parentheses, and I actually plug in the negative 2x plus 2. So substitution is great, first of all, when you have a y by itself or an x by itself, because you simply substitute it into the other equation. And it's also great if you're good at solving multi-step equations that require simplification. I mean, if you're not good at distributive property and combining like terms, then substitution is probably not the best method for you. But anyways, let's continue here. Let's simplify. As you can see, there's nothing left to do on the left side. 3x minus 17, you can't really combine those, they're not alike. And right here we could distribute. So let's distribute. 2 times negative 2x, that's negative 4x. 2 times 2, that is 4. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the 3, the x, and the minus 17. So now we need to solve, which means get x by itself on one side. And you don't want x's on both sides. There's an x right here, and there's an x right here on both sides of the equal sign. You only want it on one side. So let's get rid of that minus 4x by doing the opposite, plus 4x. That'll eliminate, that'll become 0. And what you do to one side, you must do to the other side to maintain the balance of the equation. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Bring down the x, we're talking about x's. Bring down the minus 17, the equal sign, and the 4. And let's continue solving. I need to get x by itself, so we're going to get rid of this minus 17 first by doing the opposite of minus 17, which would be plus 17. Plus 17. So we will have a new equation that says 7x equals 21. So for my final step, I am going to divide by 7 to get rid of the multiplication of 7 with the x right there. So I'm going to divide by 7 and divide by 7, x equals 3. That is one answer, but I need the other. And whenever you have one answer and you need the other, all you have to do is substitute it back into any original equation. I'm going to plug in that x equals 3 right into that x position right there. So it's going to read y equals negative 2 times, let's plug in the 3 right there, plus 2. So what is negative 2 times 3? That is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 2, that is negative 4. So y equals negative 4. And as an ordered pair, of course, we're going to write a 3 comma negative 4. Let's try the last one here. Now, number 3 is different than 1 and 2. As you can see, 1 has y by itself on the top equation. 2 has y by itself on the bottom equation. 3, step 1 is not done for us here. So we actually have to take the time, pick an equation, and get a variable by itself. So the easiest one to go with would be the top equation and getting x by itself. Why is that? Because all you have to do is one simple step, subtract 4y, and that'll get you the x all by itself. So let me rewrite this top equation right here on the side. The top equation is going to read x equals, all I have to do is rewrite this right here. And I'm going to rewrite it with the y term first. So it's a negative 4y minus 4. So there's my new top equation that has x by itself. That was step 1 on using the substitution method. Step 2 is to take that value, that variable expression, take this, and plug it into the equation you have not used. We haven't used the bottom, and let's plug it right into the x. Why are we plugging it into the x? Because we solved for x. It says x equals this stuff. So instead of x, let's write that stuff right in there. So we're going to have 3 times, in the parentheses, let's put negative 4y minus 4. But we still have a plus 5y, an equal, and a 2. So let's, again, solve this multi-step equation by simplifying first. That's distributive property. And then after distributive property, combining like terms. Then after that, you worry about getting y by itself on one side of the equal sign. So let's go 3 times negative 4y, that is negative 12y. 3 times negative 4, that's negative 12. And then bring down the plus 5y. So we've distributed. Now out of these 3 terms, I could combine the first one and the last one. They're both y's. So if you owe somebody $12 and you have $5, you're still going to owe them $7. In this case, 7 y's. Minus 12. Bring down the equal sign now. Let's get this equation down here. Equals 2. And let's continue solving. Let's get y by itself on the left side of this equal sign. So let's get rid of the 12 and the 7, or the negative 12 and the negative 7. So to get rid of that minus 12, I'm going to do the opposite, plus 12, plus 12. And my new equation will be, it's going to be a negative 7y equals 14, because 12 plus 2 is 14. So for my final step, I need to get rid of this multiplication of negative 7 in front of the y. So I'd have to do the opposite, divide by negative 7, divide by negative 7, and y will equal negative 2. That is one answer. We need the other answer. So all we have to do is plug in that negative 2 value for y on either the top equation or the bottom equation. Any equation I want. I want to go with the bottom equation. Why not? You could use the top if you want to. So the bottom equation reads 3x, let me put a line right here to separate my work, 3x plus 5y, but instead of y, I'm going to plug in that negative 2, equals 2. So this is a pretty simple equation to solve. We're going to multiply first. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So you have a minus 10 right here. You have the 3x out here in the front. You have the equal and also the 2. All I did was multiply the 5 times negative 2 right there. Let's continue solving by getting rid of that minus 10 by doing the opposite, plus 10, and what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So your new equation reads 3x equals 2 plus 10, which is 12. So for my final step, I need to get rid of the multiplication of 3 in front of the x. So I do the opposite of multiplying by 3, which is dividing by 3, which you do to one side, you must do to the other. X equals 4. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our two answers. X equals 4, y equals negative 2. And of course, on your answer, you're going to write it as an ordered pair. 4 for x, negative 2 for y. That's the bell. Okay, so that's a class opener. I'll do another video actually explaining the notes on section 6.3, solving systems with the elimination method.